G'day, going to be brewing something a little bit different today from the pages of BYO magazine. Once a year or so I brew something a bit out of what I'm used to. Today's is a TAFELBIER. Now a TAFELBIER is similar to a Trappist single, what it says here. It's a low gravity session ale with Belgian characters. Uses Abbey yeast. So it's going to be interesting, and it's just nice to brew something different. It's easy to brew big beers, brew a small beer and try and get it right. I did have troubles getting Abbey malt. You're supposed to use some Abbey malt for it. It's only just under a kilo of Abbey malt, but I substitute it with a little bit of biscuit and a bit of Cara Red, and I might have upped the aromatic malt a little bit, but we'll see how it turns out. It's going to be an interesting brew. I've never brewed something with such a little amount of grain in the Robo Brew, and it's a mostly Pilsner malt or half Pilsner malt, so it hasn't got much conversion power. So it'll be an interesting mash to see what happens. Hopefully it'll all go well, but we'll see in the end. Because I don't usually stock these sort of malts, that's actually 2 kilos of Pilsner malt. I'm only going to use half that, and that bag, and that's it for the whole brew. I could have some issues because when I was away and didn't have Beersmith on me when I ordered the grain, so I ordered it just out of the magazine, and it was a 19 litre batch, a 5 gallon batch like they normally are in the American magazines. But I've put it into my Beersmith, and it's sort of estimating I probably could get a 23 litre batch out of this, and it still might come out high. But we'll see, because I mightn't get the conversion in the mash due to these grains, but we'll see what happens, eh? From Beersmith, I'm expecting it to come out a little bit higher, nearer to the 3%, 2.5 to 3, when the recipe says 2.2%. Most magazines and that keep brew efficiency low, and that's more to do with different setups and losses you have in systems and that, whereas a Robo Brew you don't have much losses at all through the whole mash process, because it's in the single vessel. But so this is going to be a bit of an experiment. Also because I've never used my profile for something so small. You know, you tune in a profile to what you usually brew. So my beers are usually around 5 to 6% or 4.5 to 6%. So my profile's tuned in for that. Once you start going much higher or much lower, things can change. It's only 2.5 kilos worth of grain, a little bit over, I think. There's a kilo of Pilsner. Bought me new scales, and only have to weigh it in a little bucket. And there's about 1.5 kilos of Cara Red. There's a bit of soft wheat, torrefied wheat. Bit of biscuit. Anyway, I'll put the recipe up. That's it. 2.5 kilo. What's 2.5 kilo? That's about 5 pounds, is it? Something like that. A bit more. 5.5 pounds. I've also just noticed there's some incredibly small bits of grain. Now my mill's pretty tight because I had adjusted it for wheat the last time I adjusted it. So hopefully it'll be okay. But you never know, that could cause a problem. And I'm not going to check it. I think it'll be a bit hard because there's not much in there, because all my grain was mixed together. That's the soft red wheat. Torrefied, that's what my mill was adjusted for about probably 12 months ago now, and I haven't adjusted it back. Now that's a tip for beginners too. I see it over and over again, people just saying, what mill do you set your, or how many 1,000 inch do you set your mill for, or what credit card do you use? None of that matters. Check your grain. It's a bit hard for me here because I didn't realise till, I mean, I could mill this twice to make sure, but I'm not going to because my mill's pretty fine already. I'm just going to cross my fingers, but you shouldn't do that. Like if you go to use wheat that you've never used before, and just check your grains, and don't just go by 1,000 of an inch or a credit card. Test it. It's the only way you're going to be sure. I'm guessing the mash amount for this, I think it suggested around 7 to 8 litres of water. Because of the 3 or 4 litres of dead space around the mash pipe and down the bottom, I've made it to 12. Might be too much, but it should be fine. So 12 litres in there, I've got it at 70 degrees, and I'm going to put my grain in. We're going for 66 degrees for 30 minutes. It looks good. Looks about the same thickness I'd do for my bigger brews. So let's get the pump going. We'll see what the flow's like. We shouldn't have troubles with the flow since there's such little grain. Now I have pushed that centre pipe down a little, but I did have the pump nearly going flat out and it was backing up a bit, so I've backed the pump off a bit. It's still got a fair flow going there, and I think we're going alright now. So keep an eye on it the first 10-15 minutes. And the camera didn't work then. The half an hour was up at 66. I did have a little bit of flow problems, so I stirred it halfway through and it's all fine now. I just added 1.5 litres of boiling water, of freshly boiled water, just to help it get to 70. Even though it's only from 66 to 70 and the Robo Brew could cope with that pretty easily, being 4 degrees, I just thought it'd help it along anyway. So now it's set to 70 and it's another half an hour at 70. Because of the low conversion power of this grain, they say to check it with a conversion test at the end, an iodine test, at the end of the 30 minutes, just to make sure conversion's complete. We'll see how we go when we get there. So 70 degrees for another half an hour. It's kind of one of them things, because the more you worry about it, the more you play with it, the more you stir it, the more you have the lid open, the more heat you lose when you're trying to heat it up. So it's just one of those things. It's also the reason I didn't use the top screen today, is because I wanted to get in there and give it a stir and add some more water. And don't worry about mixing it up, because it's fine. It's still got half an hour at 70 and then the mash out as well. By the time all that happens, it's going to clear again, even if you do accidentally stir up too much near the bottom. I just want to add too, if you know you're going to add more water, probably don't push your pipe down as far as I did. I've just raised it up a little bit, even though I'm not using it, just so I can see it. I'm up to 70 now, so I'll start the timer. It took 10 minutes still, just for everything to even out. So I'll start the timer now for another half hour, and then we'll hit mash out. Well, that half an hour is up. We're running nice and clear. I'm trying to keep the steam off the end. It's nice and clear, clearer than it actually looks on the camera. There you go. I'm going to do an iodine test. It can be hard to get iodine, so betadine. It works. Is you want the sample cool and you don't want any grain in it. So I can grab a sample from this hose. There's no grain coming through that hose at the moment. I'll just grab a small sample. You only need a really little bit, and you want to cool it. So what you do, old school way, is in the freezer at the moment. I've got a little white bowl. It'll be nice and cold. By the time I drop the drop of wort on there, it'll be chilled. There it is there. I'll just grab a bit of wort from that hose and stick it in. You only need a tiniest little amount. I might just grab a bit more so we might be able to see it better. And what we're looking for might be a bit hard to see on here with me holding it like this. And when we drop a tiniest little drop of iodine in there, I shouldn't be using this, I should be using something else, but anyway. We want to make sure that it doesn't go black. If it goes black or purple, conversion isn't complete. It doesn't take long, it's nearly instantly. You can see there, that looks like conversion's complete. Nothing's gone black or purple. It stayed nice and light colour. See that? So we're done. Conversion's complete. I'll go into mash out. So mash out, I'll just turn it up to 78 or something. Leave it five or so minutes for it to heat up, and then 10 minutes for mash out. I thought I'd show you, I don't know if there's enough iodine left in there still. I've got a little bit of grain dust. I'll put it in. And you can immediately see, or I can, it's going darker. You can see where the iodine's actually turned those little white bits of grain powder black. Just maybe if I put a little bit more iodine in, it might be a bit clearer. and a bit more grain dust. See that black? And how dark it's gone. It's because there's starches present. There you go, that's a better shot of how clear it is. We're heating up to mash out now, you can hear the elements have come on. Just remember that I added that just over about 1.5 litres from the kettle in. So it was 12 litres mash, about 1.5 litres from the kettle, and about 17 litres I'm going to sparge with. We'll see where we're at. I'll keep an eye on the level. I'm supposed to do a 90-minute boil. I'm not going to. I'm going to do like maybe a 75-minute boil. I'll just see how the numbers are, because I'm just not sure. This was a 5-gallon recipe and I'm trying to stretch it to 6 gallons. The beersmith's saying I'm still going to be above what they predict, so it's, you know, a lot of that doesn't make sense, but we'll see what happens. Not sure. I'm going to have to add some more on it. Let's see how she drains through. So you can see there, we're 2 notches from 30, the full mark. So that is about 28 litres, what Beersmith says my pre-boil should be. Because I will do like a 75-minute boil, I might just chuck another litre in. Oh, this could drain through to nearly there. No, I'll chuck 1 more litre in, help it along a bit. 1 more litre. Yeah, so we're full. Right up this time. We're coming up to boil. What is surprising here is there's virtually no grain being filtered. So I usually get a bit more than that, which is weird because I did a fair bit of stirring and there's a lot smaller grain. Maybe that's because the smaller grain didn't get quite as pulverised as the big grain does usually. But there was a fair bit of stirring and mucking around at the start. And there's barely any that coming out. That's been pumping now for a good 10 minutes. Alright, that should be stirred up now. We'll take a reading. Cool it down. See how we go. I think Beersmith said 123, but that was when, yeah, so we'll see. I doubt we're going to be there myself, but you never know. Oh my god, it's spot on, 123. There we are, spot on. Unbelievable. Shows the efficiency of the Brew. So in the end, we're going to come up a little bit higher than what I expected in the end, because I am going to boil for 75 minutes. And we're going to add Saz hops. They're Czech Saz hops. Supposed to be 14 grams. They're 2016 Saz hops. So they're down a little bit to what they say. I think they say 3.8 on the packet. They're probably down to 3.5 at least. And I'm going to be a bit higher than the recipe, so I'm going to add a little bit more bitterness. It's supposed to only be 6 IBUs. I'm going to be a little bit higher sweetness, so I want a little bit more bitterness. I'm going to put in probably 15 grams. Maybe I'm thinking I should go 16 grams, but no, I'll stick to the recipe. Bigger batch, even though we're at the right gravity, it's going to be a little bit higher, so I'll put 15 grams instead of 14 grams. That's all I'm going to do. People might wonder why I leave this in. I got that from when I usually pump through my chiller, and all that does is make sure, to me, it makes me feel better that there's steam and heat going up that tube. If I do want to use the pump after I've chilled the wort or anything, then there's no bugs or anything. But I'm not chilling the wort today. It's going to be no chill. There's only a 60-minute edition. There's no flavour hops, so no chill is going to be fine. I'm going to put it in at the same time. You're not going to get any more bitterness out of the hop. Out of 15 grams of hop and a 60-minute boil, the bitterness is going to be minimal. That's another reason why I'll leave it at 15 and won't up it anymore. Now that's been 15 minutes. I want to make sure I have my 23 litres for my no-chill cube, so I'm not going to go for the full 90-minute boil. It'll be a 75-minute boil, but I'm sure that'll be fine. It'll be interesting to see if any DMS or anything like that, especially because it's no chill as well. But anyway, you got to test these things, don't you? Alright, 15 grams of Czech Saaz. Saaz. Not one of my favourite hops. I overdid them probably 10-15 years ago in a brew. I don't remember exactly. 10 years ago maybe, when I first started using hops, and ever since then I still haven't got over that. But that smells nice. That smells nice. If you have troubles with these baskets clogging up, just shake it like that every now and then. Sometimes the proteins get in it. This beer, it's a bit thinner than usual. I don't think I'm going to have that trouble today, but anyway. See you in an hour. Alright, we're at the end of the boil. I'm going to turn the elements off and get this straight into the cube. No steep today. That will do me. You can squeeze it if you like, if you're really worried. Like that. Ow. There we go. Done. Okay, here's a bit I got from the... Tipped up the Robo Brew again. Should be enough. Was looking for... Was supposed to go from 23 to 25. I have a feeling with a 75-minute boil that it'll be higher than that, but I could be wrong. Too much on there and air bubbles. Now, there we go. And we are about 29. It's a way higher than I wanted. 28. I'll call that 28 and a half. It's a bit higher than I wanted, but I don't know. That was besides 100 grams, which is what, 4 ounces, less than 4 ounces, or 4 ounces to the US people, more than their 19 litre batch or 5 gallon batch, and I got 6 gallons and came out how much up? Just double checking. They said 1024. 1024. Well, I got 1028 with just 4 ounces more of grain and a gallon extra batch, 4 litre extra batch. So they must have, I don't know if they say at the front of these magazines. Yeah, extract efficiency, 65%. That's why. And that's why on my profile too, I lowered it a bit to what I usually get. I think I put mine to 76 instead of 80. Yeah, 65%. Yeah, I get around 80% in this. Alright, so tomorrow I'm just going to chuck it in the fermenter. I'm using an Abbey yeast. I'm using the Nottingham Abbey yeast. And normally for Belgians, sometimes they even say it in here that they underpitch sometimes to get a little bit more stressed yeast. They stress the yeast a bit to get a little bit more character out of the yeast and flavour. I'm not going to. If anything, I'm probably over pitching, but because I'm just going to pitch the whole packet, and the wort's only at 1028. But we'll see how we go. Dan Star. There we go there. It's a TAFELBIER. It's cleared up nicely. It's probably been in the keg 2.5 weeks or something now. Excuse the budgies again. But it's got that typical Belgian yeast aroma. Very nice looking beer. It's got that typical Belgian taste, which is very nice. I guess, yeah, there's no late hop aroma because there's no late hops. For a small beer, like it's only about 2.5%. It's a little thin, but you'd sort of guess that. It's a little bit thinner than I thought from all the crystals type malts and that were in it. I wonder if sort of mashing for only like 15 minutes or something at the lower 60s before raising it up to the lower, to around the 70 or whatever the second step was, might make the mouthfeel a bit more. But then again, it's a very small beer. You don't really expect to get much mouthfeel in a Belgian beer like this. There's not much else to say. It's a quaffer. You can hook into it. The wife loves it. She can have a few after work. It's very interesting. Would I brew it again? I think I probably would. It'd be great in summer. Again, I'm brewing these summer beers and it's winter here now. But anyway, it was a bit of an experiment and a recipe out of a mag instead of me just making them up as I go. But you know, it's doing all the things it's supposed to do. The head's staying there. There's nice lacing. It's cleared up nice, and that was no chill, as you know. Yeah, good beer, Tafel, something different. Once or twice a year. It's only once or twice a year I do a couple of different beers. I'm going to try and do a few more lately because I've been pumping out a lot of my usual hoppy pales and IPA type beers. And every now and then I just like to mix it up. So that's why I did the TAFELBIER. While we're here, quick shout out to Dermot from Beer Co. I ordered some mosaic hops from him. He had the 2017 crop in. And I can't say always, because it doesn't always happen, but if you ever order from Beer Co, your ingredients, if they've got anything on the side there they've got left, they'll throw it in your order. I often get a couple of extra things here and there, little bag of malt to try or something like that. And it was probably my fault in the end. I didn't look. I got the wrong mosaic hops. So he sent me out the proper mosaic hops and a beanie. thanks very much, Dermot. So Dermot at Beer Co, I better give him a shout out because it's a nice beanie. If you're after Gladfield malts, get in contact with Dermot at Beer Co. Anyway, cheers.